Hello there friends and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm presenting the top 5 reasons why death penalty is wrong. Number 5. Death penalty is legalized murder. The earliest legal definition of murder comes from John Hawkins, who lived in the 14th century, and he defines it in this way. It is the willful killing of any subject whatever with malice aforethought, whether the person slain shall be an Englishman or a foreigner. After him, many others tried to define it, such as Russell, Sir Edward Coke, etc. Future dictionary writers defined it in the way they think, but the original legal definition of murder came from Hawkins. The Good Book, which is the basis for all Western law and civilization, supports Hawkins and does not even allow anyone to be angry towards another for whatever alibi. Based on this, death penalty is murder. In countries where it is legalized, the majority who vote it into a law only succeed in justifying murder on paper. Shall I say, in a flawed legal system which time and again proved prone to corruption and even injustice. For example, to say we are going to kill you now that we have proven you guilty to show you killing is wrong cannot always hold water. Let us say, for instance, that a rich man is sentenced to death. He can always get a good lawyer who can bring his sentence down, but a poor person, even if he were innocent, cannot do anything even close. So how do we know with 100% certainty if we are really killing guilty people? Two wrongs don't make right. There have been instances, for example, when DNA has been able to free innocent people who have spent 10, 20, or 30 years paying for a crime they did not commit. So who knows how many have been unjust victims of society's legalized murder? And it is not always just a question of having the money to get a good lawyer. Many things can go wrong, owing to things like racial profiling, planting of evidence, corruption in the justice system, etc. I know an innocent man unjustly given the death penalty 2,000 years ago. He was sentenced to be crucified. It proves to me that a society cannot justify 1,000,000 correct executions if it makes even one mistake and sends one innocent man on the gallows. The state kills innocent people every year. And when you support death penalty and its flawed system, you are indirectly supporting the execution of innocent human beings. I think everyone dies anyway, even those who execute the criminal and the society that condones it. Bottom line is, what people on the side of quote-unquote justice do is simply to attempt to prevent a premature death by killing others. And don't you think this only encourages a culture of violence? Everything must be done to ensure the innocent does not get sentenced to death, because death is permanent, while other solutions have possible recourse. Death penalty is always a potentially irreversible failure of a system designed to give justice, and countries that have an efficient death penalty system run the risk of depriving the innocent of their lives. False imprisonment can be compensated for in some manner, whereas you can't do anything for a person wrongfully put to death. Number 4. Death penalty always hurts innocent victims. Proponents of death penalty argue in a line like this. What if your loved ones were murdered? Maybe then you'd change your mind because you are the one hurting. You are the innocent victim. How about if we look at it this way? The whole business of giving death penalty is based on a cosmic law popularly known as karma, and on this planet it is executed by humans, and most poignantly worded in the Good Book as eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Christ has abolished this eye for eye law 2,000 years ago, owing in part to human imperfection in the execution of justice. The penal code is not an exact science. So in every conviction, it is either that the penalty is too low or too high. So what happens then if the penalty is too high? For example, if based on the exact calculations of karmic law, the man only actually deserved 25 years imprisonment, but society gave him 40 years, who is going to pay for the 15 years of injustice? The society or the one who sued him? So there, you can see right away that there are going to be unexpected innocent victims of the karmic law. Also, a man or woman given the death penalty also have loved ones and families will also be hurt, and aren't they innocent victims as well? Execution of the criminal ends his suffering while starting it for his family and those who love him. Most of the lives of those innocent people he left are shattered and haunted by the thought that their loved one was murdered in a very public, premeditated way. Sad to say, the society in this case becomes a deliberate instrument for torturing the innocent. The hurt of innocent victims should stop when they throw the inmate into a cell. The prison wall is already preventing the prisoner from committing hurt, doesn't it? Why should the state create new innocent victims, destroying lives, and commit the same horrendous crime the death row inmate committed? Emotional vengeance to supposedly help the victim's family heal obviously does not work both ways, and therefore should be scrapped in favor of a more just system. Additionally, there are those on death row who are truly sorry for what they did and suffer mental anguish every day. People who would do anything to atone for their crimes. They spend the rest of their lives trying to convert other inmates to become better human beings and not follow the wrong path. Doesn't repentance and remorse and conversion of heart count for anything? And how is killing going to bring back the people who have been killed? To the one who murdered my mother, there is nothing that he can do to bring her back to life. Even his death cannot bring it about, and to me, that is imperfect justice. All that said, any unforgiveness I may have is really his power to hurt me through a life of suffering, even worse than any death sentence that I can demand. Number 3. Giving the state power to take life is a threat to all citizens. Who wants to live in a country where the state has power to willfully kill its citizens? Well, some people would argue that the state can only be authorized if the person commits murder or some heinous crime. But in some cases, individuals don't even have to commit a crime. They only have to be convicted. So you have both the guilty and innocent dying the same horrible death. It is a mistake to think that a human being is a property of the state, because it tacitly means that if it can take his life, then it can take your life too, for whatever excuse, such as a law, it can imagine in the future. Aren't death penalty advocates tricked into relinquishing their own right to existence, giving undeserved absolute power to an imperfect entity built by imperfect human beings in an imperfect society, governed by imperfect laws to execute imperfect justice? Number 2. Death penalty is not a deterrent to crime. Contrary to popular belief, death penalty is not a deterrent to crime, as the majority of prisoners are impulsive and are rarely controlled by fear at the time the crime is committed. Based on 20 years worth of data from the Death Penalty Information Center, murder rates in states with death penalty are consistently higher than those in states without death penalty. A recent study found that 5% or more than half of male inmates suffer from mental illness, the most common being depression disorder, characterized by suicidal thoughts. Obviously, suicidal people are not deterred by death penalty. To those who entertain the idea that death penalty is worse than life imprisonment, then think about the many people who commit suicide because they find existence unbearable. And these are people outside of prison, none of whose freedoms have been curtailed. So just imagine how much higher must be the number of those who pray or wish for death among inmates every day. And number 1, Death penalty as a means of retribution is a false compensation and only breeds a culture of violence without productive benefit. While retribution can be argued as an element of criminal justice, it is conceivable that life without parole is sufficient substitute. Retribution implies equal or near equal punishment for the crime committed. But this is impossible to achieve even in countries that condone death penalty. For example, if a person raped and killed a baby, can the society's justice system make him a baby again, rape him and kill him as a way of execution? If it cannot, then it is a flawed retribution system, is it not? Since death penalty is just a flawed retribution mechanism, it means it does not do what it is designed to do, and should therefore be scrapped in favor of something that at least does not breed a culture of violence. An August 2016 study of the cost of Nebraska's death penalty by Dr. Ernest Goss of Creighton University estimated that death penalty prosecution cost Nebraska's taxpayers $1.5 million more than a life without parole prosecution. I think a more beneficial system would be to just award the $1.5 million to the family of the victim while scrapping the death penalty. Additionally, in the current penal system, all the victims ever get is false justice afforded by emotional vengeance, while private corporations reap the actual rewards by way of millions of dollars through slave labor. This is injustice to the victims' loved ones, as they were the ones hurt, not those companies and not even the society. So why aren't they getting anything? Hence, what I propose as a replacement to death penalty is a system where the convicted is instead allowed to live to the end of his natural life, and a portion of all his earnings be given to his victims' loved ones so that they can at least have that passive income, however little it may be, to somehow help compensate for their loss. This proposal is practical, tangible, and a productive benefit to the victim's loved ones. It is not really just about money, but it is the principle that if someone murdered me, it would be easier for me to forgive him if I can see that he is trying his best and offering whatever little he has towards caring for the loved ones I left behind. Well, that's it. If you like this video, please subscribe and like my channel to see all my future episodes. Thank you and have a great day.